G'day guys, I'm AZAWorld and this is AZAWorld Sport, and it's safe to say that the second weekend of the Premier League was just as surprising as the opening weekend in terms of some of the results, because Liverpool lost away at Burnley, which is obviously the biggest shock of the weekend, going down 2-0 at Turf Moor thanks to goals from Vokes and Gray. But it also gave Liverpool a very unwanted record of being the team to have the most possession in a game, yet lose. They had 81% possession. It was incredibly one-sided. Even the shots were crazy in terms of the stats. But even though Burnley only had 2 shots on goal, it's all about who can put the ball in the back of the net. And Burnley certainly made Liverpool pay for what they weren't able to do. Now, even though this is obviously a fantastic laugh for all the rival fans of Liverpool, at the same time, I wouldn't really read too much into it because, you know, it's the second weekend of the Premier League season. And even though it was very kind of one-sided in terms of Liverpool dominating possession and obviously Burnley still winning, at the same time, you've got to remember Liverpool were pretty dominant throughout the game. So I think they should put it down to a bad day at the office and not really read too much into it. I'm still fully expecting Liverpool to finish in the top 4 this season and Klopp's team to go from strength to strength throughout the season. You're always allowed a blip every now and then. Every team goes through it all throughout a season, or at certain points, throughout a season. But yeah, I think that's all they should really put it down to. The other shock result was Hull winning again. Now, the reason why this is so shocking is because Hull have only got 13 registered first-team players and also still don't have an official manager. Mike Phelan has taken over. Temporary charge is what we're generally assuming, but if he keeps on getting these results, then surely they've got to give him the job if he wants it, right? But you can see where he spent time with Fergie because clearly something is working. So yeah, another good result for Hull City, and they carry on the season in fantastic form. Although next week they face Manchester United, and you wonder if that bubble's going to burst. But hey, you know, while it's going, enjoy it, Hull fans. Who knows? Maybe you guys do have the quality to stay up, even though you don't necessarily have the quantity of players. Guess we're going to see. As for Swansea, another disappointing result, especially after the opening day win at Burnley. But again, I think that you guys are going to have a solid season. So again, wouldn't really read too much into it. Just focus on to the next game. Some of the other big results, obviously the big derby of the weekend saw Middlesbrough pick up their first win of the season after returning to the Premier League at Sunderland. Sunderland carrying on that kind of stance of we're going to do really rubbish for like the first, third of the season. Then we're going to sack our manager. Then we're going to be a little bit iffy for the second third, and then just be absolutely quality for the final third of the season. Avoid relegation, and then in the summer we're going to repeat everything again. So Sunderland fans wouldn't worry too much. I wouldn't. I mean, I worry if Sunderland do have the quality to stay up this summer because of everything that's happened this season, because of everything that's happened throughout the summer. But I think at the same time, you also have some exciting players in that team. It's going to be interesting to see how Januzaj develops over the course of the season now that he's actually at a club that's going to give him a real opportunity to shine. We know that there is some quality there, but this is his real opportunity to show it on a Premier League level. But let's just hope that Jermaine Defoe can keep banging in the goals for you guys, because if he can, then you guys might be all right again like you were last season. Some of the other big results from the weekend. Manchester United fans have got to be loving life under Jose so far. Obviously, we saw the debut of the world's most expensive player, Paul Pogba, and that cracking first touch of his. But of course, after that, he put in a very dominant display and probably would have got man of the match if it wasn't for the new king of Manchester. Obviously, Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored twice on his home debut for Manchester United. 4 goals in 4 games if you include the Community Shield so far this season. And I think United fans have got a lot to be excited about this season. Coinciding with that, the other side of Manchester, again, another fantastic result, this time away at Stoke City. I wouldn't necessarily say you were 3 goals better than Stoke. It wasn't the most entertaining game in the world. Some very dodgy refereeing decisions, especially around the penalties. Some very soft penalties given, and then some absolutely stonewall penalties not given. But hey, at the end of the day, you guys have won. It's another win. 2 obviously 2 out of 2. I'm just thinking of pre-season and that beforehand. But the Guardiola momentum continues. Whether or not you guys are going to sell Joe Hart is yet to be seen. I probably think you guys are. Sounds like you guys are going to get Claudio Bravo. Fantastic capture. But there is still only one real key man at Manchester City, and that is Sergio Aguero. And when I say quality, I generally think he is right up there with Suarez, Neymar, Messi, Ronaldo, in terms of where they stand in the world rankings, especially as a striker. When you consider, let's have a look. Didier Drogba, icon, Premier League legend. Sergio Aguero has now scored the same amount of goals as Didier Drogba, but in 102 games less than Didier Drogba. So that just shows you how phenomenal Aguero is as a striker. And this season, the Battle of Manchester is going to be incredible, especially now that United have got someone who has got the real strike kind of prowess to be in the Premier League, which they've kind of been missing the last few years, which is going to be exciting to see. The other kind of major title contenders, Chelsea, they picked up a win again in the dying moments. Dying moments. I'd say dying moments. It was in the last 10 minutes against Watford this time. Diego Costa, he's like Marmite, isn't he? You just love him or you hate him. And in this game, he showed traits of why you love him and why you hate him. That dive on the edge of the box, how he wasn't sent off for that, I will never know. But obviously, he got the winning goal, finished it with quality, and proved again why he's regarded as one of the top strikers in the world. Some of the other big results, well, I say big results, Leicester-Arsenal was a bit of a dull 0-0. But again, Stonewall penalty missed out on Leicester's behalf. Musa being brought down, but Bellerin, 100% a penalty. And how the ref missed that, and yet you have a look at some of the penalties that were given in the Stoke City game, I'll never understand. But again, it's a tough summer for Arsenal. It still doesn't look like Wenger's going to get anyone. You hear rumours of Mustafi being apparently worth 43 million is what Valencia want for him, which I think is ridiculous. And then their other backup option is Johnny Evans, the man that Manchester United didn't want. Now, if Arsenal get him, what do you think that actually says about Arsenal? The fact that they've gone for someone who Manchester United didn't deem good enough, and clearly none of the other kind of top teams in the Premier League deemed good enough, because he ended up at West Brom. Now, that's with no disrespect to West Brom, but you're not one of the Champions League contenders. This was Johnny Evans, who was a Champions League player, and when United put him on the transfer list, not another Champions League team or a team in the Europa League wanted to come and get him. So I think that just kind of says everything that needs to be said about that potential transfer to Manchester United. To Arsenal. Some of the other results, we saw Tottenham get off to a winning start at home. Victor Wanyama, one of their summer signings, obviously kicking off the season at White Hart Lane with a goal on his debut, which is great, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal player for Tottenham. Palace again, another defeat, and I've got to be honest, the more that you see what's going on at Palace in terms of players they're letting go and just the way that they're generally playing, it is a bit worrying. But now that they've signed Benteke, who I think is a good striker, I think that could be the answer to your solutions. But let's just hope you guys can get all of the service into him. We saw West Brom losing at home to Everton. Everton getting off the mark officially for the season, because obviously they drew in their opening game to Tottenham, which, to be honest with you, I thought was a fairly standard result, 2-1. You would expect Everton to beat West Brom. Again, with no disrespect to West Brom fans. But I think West Brom are going to have another solid season. We saw them beat Crystal Palace. We know that obviously with Tony Pulis in charge, you guys aren't going to have any worries about relegation. So yeah, just enjoy the season as it goes on. And then finally, we saw West Ham open their account at the London Stadium with a 1-0 win over Bournemouth in what was not the most entertaining game, but good way to finish it with a win in obviously the closing stages of the game. Mikel Antonio with a fantastic header, from across in the final few moments to kick things off at the London Stadium for West Ham in the Premier League. So that pretty much sums up everything that happened in the second weekend of the Premier League. What were your weekend highlights? Who really impressed you? What results stood out to you? And with regards to going into the third and fourth weeks of the Premier League as the transfer window starts to close, what kind of players would you like to see your team buy? And where do you think your teams might be going wrong, even only 2 games into the season? Comment below, please let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to AZAWorldTV for all things wildlife, adventure and sport.